Let me start by saying what this video is not. This is not an attack on Christianity. This is not an argument against the Bible, and this is not about shaming anyone. This is about examining a popular claim many Christians repeat without ever being shown where it actually appears in Scripture. And that claim is this: the races came from Noah's 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. If that's true, it should be clearly stated in the biblical text. Okay? So let's slow down and look at what the text actually says. So let's look at what Genesis actually describes. Genesis chapter 9 and 10 lists Noah's sons and their descendants. What does the text emphasize? Nations, lands, languages, lineages. What does it never mention? Skin color, biological race, genetic hierarchy, physical traits. The so-called Table of Nations is a geographical and cultural map, not a racial one. The Bible explains where people settled, not how their bodies changed. Race is never named. Race is never defined. Race is never explained. That matters. So, let's look at why race is not biological. This is where modern research actually aligns with the text. Educator Jane Elliott demonstrated something uncomfortable but well supported. Race is not a biological reality. It is a learned social classification. Genetically, humans are over 99.9% of the same DNA that we share. There's more genetic variation within so-called races than between them. If race were divinely instituted through Noah's sons, it would show up biologically. It doesn't. What Genesis describes is human dispersion. What race requires is human invention. So let's look at some internal logic matters, shall we? So let's just talk about logic and not theology. The Noah's sons equals races theory creates serious problems. Number 1, genetic impossibility. 3 families cannot produce modern global genetic diversity in a few thousand years. Number 2, internal contradiction. Ham's descendants include North Africans who are lighter skinned than many Europeans. Japheth's descendants include populations across Asia with wide variation. And number 3, textual silence. The Bible never explains racial traits as divine design anywhere. So, to make this theory work, details must be added that Scripture never supplies. That should give any serious Bible reader pause. Okay? So, let's look at where this idea actually came from. Now, here's the part that many people don't realize. The idea that Noah's sons represent 3 races does not originate in Genesis. Historical analysis shows that this interpretation developed much later, especially during European colonial expansion, the transatlantic slave trade, and the need to justify hierarchy using religious language. In other words, this was not a conclusion drawn from the text. It was an interpretation applied to the text for social and political reasons. That distinction matters. So, let the Bible answer the Bible. If race were a biblical category, we would expect it to be reinforced elsewhere. Instead, we find the opposite. The book of Acts, chapter 17, verse 26, states that humanity comes from one blood. Paul dismantles ethnic hierarchy, not reinforces it. Jesus never teaches racial separation. He consistently crosses boundaries. Scripture speaks in terms of nations, tribes, tongues, cultures, not races. Difference is acknowledged. Hierarchy is rejected. So, in conclusion, you do not have to abandon the Bible to abandon racial thinking. You only have to abandon an interpretation that the Bible itself never teaches. The idea of race as we use it today is a modern social construct, not a biblical one. Genesis describes human spread. Science confirms human unity. And history explains how race was later invented. From one blood, many cultures, one human family. That is not an attack on Scripture. It is fidelity to it.